Hello, my name is Chris. This is my Biomes field lab documentary thing. So the biome I'm currently in is labeled the Rolling Plains, and a government agency has declared us to be partly included within the Edwards Plateau area, but it really doesn't seem like it based off the map. Although, what do I know? The climate is CFA, which is a humid subtropical climate by the Köppen climate classification. The exact area is my family's property, southwest of town, about 40 minutes or so. Some of the defining flora and fauna of this biome, I would say it would be all the cactus. This in particular is the Texas prickly pear. We have some other, I don't know if there are any around in this area exactly, but they're called horse cripplers and barrel cactus. I don't think there's any in this particular area of those, like where I'm currently standing, but they're all over the property. We also have all kinds of mesquite and ash junipers. These are pretty prevalent. We have lots of white-tailed deer. I was going to show them on video, but I've scared them all away by walking around and talking like a crazy person. We have rabbits, in particular Audubon cottontails, supposedly jackrabbits around somewhere. And we have starting to develop a little bit of a coyote problem. So we have quite a few prairie coyotes, and then of course we have the Rio Grande ground squirrel. They don't hang out over here so much. They seem more common on the north side of the property for whatever reason that may be. So one abiotic biotic interaction, it's not occurring right now. It kind of is because there's bugs and a single duck over there on the water. But this is a good example of such an interaction. So the water is obviously not living, but all the animals, whether it's the cottontails or the rabbits or the annoying coyotes, they all come here to get some water. And it's really the only consistent place. We had a few random places full of water after all the rain we got, but this is really the only place that's consistently full because we fill it ourselves. Well, the pump does for us. And then, so the next thing is how much has human activity changed the area from its natural state? Well, I mean, there hasn't, because this is our property, there hasn't been much direct human interaction besides the things we've done ourselves intentionally. So like the addition of this tank and another one on the north side of the property in the rangeland. But so other than that, which has provided water, but there used to even be a creek that goes through here that would have provided water for animals anyhow, but someone further north of us must have dammed it off because we used to pull water from some natural water. But anyways, with the cows, we have some cows, and I mean, we put them here, so that's human activity, I guess. And they trample the soil, they compact it, and they kind of diminish what can thrive within the soils. And some would say the ash juniper is a invasive species, and take nutrients, but that seems to be up for debate in both ways. I mean, from what I've read, it seems like they were in some parts of Texas, just not as many as they currently are now. And it seems like they don't actually take up that much more resources than, say, something else. And they can still grow even in degraded soils. like cattle do, where the soil's like this, where it's eroded. They can still manage to grow. They just have a different phenotype, so to speak, when they grow in such soils. But anyways, the annual precipitation in here, or around here, is fairly consistent with Abilene, although also Nolan. But it's fairly comparable, where I just am going to use the data for Abilene, and that's 14.63 inches last year. But the year before that was 24.43 inches. This was a relatively, I'd say, wet summer, especially lately, where, I mean, all last week was rain. But it varies. Some years they're incredibly dry. There was a drought for a decade or so, and then you get some rain. And in fact, in 2015, I believe it was, there was over 40 inches of rain that year. But a good average going back to 1969 is about 25 inches per year. So the average temperature varies by month. And so it can be around 45 on average. And I believe that website was taking an average of the the minimum and the maximum, the entire range of the day, and then averaging it, and that works out to 45. That didn't seem really reasonable to me. So it increases to 80 in June, July, August, that same thing. But so, given the range, there was about 60 degrees Fahrenheit in December and January, moving towards 90s and 100 degrees Fahrenheit within the summer, and even going up to a maximum of 110 degrees Fahrenheit for several days maximum last summer. And then the minimum was about 10 degrees in the month of December on average, for the average of the minimum days. But for the most part, it's pretty pleasant, except for the occasional cold snap or heat wave that goes through here. Which then leads us to how climate change is affecting this biome. The entire biome, so to speak, of this area of Texas is actually currently undergoing a change due to just human activity and climate change. And I would say this area isn't much different. The summers are getting drier and hotter, and the process is occurring sooner. The soil dries out more. It makes it harder for plants to grow and wildlife to subsist. The natural water evaporates. I mean, even our manually filled tank here, it used to go up to this post, but we can't, within reason, the amount of money it would cost and the toll it would have on the aquifer we pull from is rather ridiculous. So we just leave it there, and that's about all it can really handle now before it evaporates, incredibly so. And even with the heat and dryness, there's even been increased frequency and intensity in forest fires. The mesquite heat, that big forest fire that occurred, I guess it was 2 summers ago now. Yeah, not the last summer, but the summer before. It was what is that? That's about a 15-16 minute drive just to the north of us. We could see the smoke and the plumes going up until it was over. And so even in our area, we've seen a direct, not that's very strong language, we've seen an increased frequency of fires. But so that's pretty standard, though. I'd say all around is things are getting hotter and they're getting drier due to human action. Water, it's raining less, and when it does rain, it's crazier. And so is the weather. So the cold snaps are more harsh, in part of incredibly hot summers, because of what it does to the Earth's circulation, so to speak. So, I mean, we have we get the worst of it, it would seem. Although some places are worse off. But I believe that's it. So thank you for watching or listening or whatever you had to do to get your grade if you had to interact with this. Thanks.